best football against different kind of teams, and this one will be tough.
Against a team, and probably with the 10 games you've got left, one of the few teams that have probably got nothing much to play for. They're probably not going to reach the playoffs. They aren't going to be involved in a relegation fight by the looks of things. Very different dynamic to teams like Cardiff and Luton, Hull, all who had something to play for.
Yeah, and it's still difficult to anticipate because if you don't have a risk period, probably you can play with more freedom and you can be more creative. You can take more risks, but at the same time, the game is tough. Probably it's more difficult to find the extra energy to push yourself. On the opposite side, when you are playing something important for the season, sometimes you can struggle with the confidence. So the balance is still difficult to anticipate. What we can control is the way we will play, and I think it's the main focus for us.
Finally, for me, just a quick one on Wilson. He's not started the last couple of games. I know you've said you have very difficult conversations with players like Chris Mepham when you're telling him they're not going to play. How has Wilson been about not starting the games?
Frustrated, and I think it's important. But at the same time, like we did with Chris Mepham, the conversation was totally open and clear. I think from my point of view. For the players, it's still a bit different because they want to play, they want to be involved, they want to score and so on. But at the same time, they know that we need a full squad to maintain the level. And I think it was important for him to refresh a little bit. And it was important for Eli as well to get some minutes and to score goals. So now we have two very good strikers, and I think it's better for us than having only one.
Total Sport Northeast.
Live from the Stadium of Light.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Well, if Regis Lebris had a difficult conversation with Wilson Isidore about not starting him in the last couple of games, I suspect he had another difficult conversation with Alan Brown, who would have loved to have played against his former club tonight.
Well, it's interesting that he had a difficult conversation with Isidore. Does he say the same thing about Mayenda when he's done one and he's been left out? And we can go back to the weekend, and it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on this in regards of Patterson. We had a couple of callers in regarding Patterson, and that he should be doing better. And I just said, when you're in a manager's position, he's got to, even maybe deep down he knows, but he's got to show faith. Now, if he changes things about, then does that send the wrong message throughout the team?
Interesting one, the Patterson one, because you only have to look up the road and that whole debate about Nick Pope and Martin Dubravka. Both very, very good keepers, and one of them's got to miss out. But clearly Eddie Howe as Nick Pope is his number one. And I think very much in the same way here, Anthony Patterson is Regis Lebris's number one. Yes, he was accountable on a couple of occasions this season, mistakes that have led to goals. But at the same time, in the same breath of the weekend, he tipped one on the post from Salic, which could have seen Cardiff take the lead on Saturday. It's very easy, I think, sometimes to put the microscope on the goalkeeper because they very much are under that microscope, unlike some of the other outfield players. He's Regis' number one, and he's not going to change his mind on that unless something catastrophic happens. Tonight, Preston, all in blue, are going to kick off. They're defending the Roker end. They're playing from right to left as we look down from the back of the West Stand. The referee is Lewis Smith, who incidentally, the 30-year-old, was in charge of the respective fixture at Deepdale back at the beginning of November, which ended 0-0. 266 Preston fans here tonight. And the player's gone down straight away as the ball was played back from the kickoff.
Isidore went straight into him.
Because Isidore ran straight into him. And it's a free kick to Preston, whose keeper, Freddie Woodman, son of Andy Woodman, of course, former Newcastle keeper, Freddie Woodman, all in sort of lemon yellow tonight, Freddie Woodman. Their team, haven't seen the formation yet because they're all lined up for a free kick,
Ryan Porteous, Jason Megoma, Lewis Gibson, Kessler Hayden, Thorderson, Potts and Hughes. As the ball floats up to the edge of the Sunderland penalty area, and it's headed behind Ryan Porteous. Once a target of Sunderland, came off him. Sam Greenwood, of course, former Sunderland player, Sunderland born. Ryan Ledson and Emil Rees is the Preston team. As the ball goes out of play on the far side, at the foot of the east stand, Sunderland in their red and white stripes, black shorts, red socks, made 3 changes tonight as the ball is headed away by Lewis Gibson from just in front of the D. Dan Neal tried to knock it through for Mayenda, and Mayenda and Isidore clearly playing as 2 up front here. As Brad Potts, it looked like he may have been pulled down by Trey Hume, but players gone on, and now it's with Thorderson, the Norwegian, the Icelander in the midfield, the Preston midfield, as Job breaks up play and running back into his own half, plays the ball into the centre. To a round of applause for that challenge that won it back. Mepham out to Hume, down the right wing looking for Mayenda, but Andrew Hughes is one of the changes made by Paul Heckingbottom at left back tonight, or left-sided 3. I think they probably are playing 3 at the back, are they? With Megoma playing as the left wing back, and Kane Kessler Hayden, who's on loan from Aston Villa, the right wing back. As Lewis Gibson, formerly of Newcastle as well, Durham born defender, plays the ball out. It's a throw though to Preston North End, which Hughes takes, and eventually back to Woodman. 0-0 in the opening few minutes, then 3 minutes into the game, and the ball played down onto the head of Mepham, who heads it firmly away out into touch. Throw just in front of Regis Lebris, taken by the Welshman Andrew Hughes, and eventually played long up towards the edge of the Sunderland penalty area, pushed by Rees on Mepham. Emil Rees, the Danish striker, who's actually been at Preston now 5 years. The ball thrown down by Chris Mepham, 4th minute, Sunderland 0, Preston North End 0. The ball played back to Patterson, who's in light green or green tonight. It's played across to Dennis Sirkin on the far side as Sunderland bring this up towards the halfway line. Quickly played on to Tommy Watson, who played in both games against Preston this season, in the League Cup and then in the league fixture at Deepdale, which Aaron Connolly actually played up front in that 0-0 draw. And there's a big shove on the back of Patrick Roberts from Jaden Megoma, who's on loan from Brentford, the 18-year-old former Tottenham and Southampton defender. Free kick is floated up towards the right side of the Preston penalty area. Lewis Gibson, who was signed from Plymouth in January, puts the ball out into touch. It's closed down the clearance in midfield by Ryan Ledson, who's been brought back into the team tonight by Paul Heckingbottom, the captain. Tommy Watson leaves it for Job. Job shoots, and it rises over the crossbar and behind into the Roker end for a goal kick. Goal kick to Preston North End.
At least he's got his shot away. And it's interesting with Sunderland playing basically with 4 strikers, 2 wide men, obviously Watson and Roberts, and they're occupying their back 4.
Yeah, stretching them. No win in 5 for Preston in the league. Their last win was at Norwich on February the 11th, but they did beat Burnley, local rivals, Burnley 3-0 in the FA Cup. Here on the left wing, Sam Greenwood on loan from Leeds, the Sunderland midfielder, and it's played through the middle again by Ledson, cut out by Sirkin, played back to Patterson, who just pushes it out from the just in front of the penalty spot to the edge of the area to Trey Hume, who was called up to the Northern Ireland squad for the upcoming internationals today. Trey Hume, no Ballard of course because he's injured. Brad Potts breaks into the penalty area. His cross is blocked. They're still lining up, and Greenwood with his left foot volleys it over the bar. But Potts broke into the penalty area.
It's a great block by 09.
And the block was made. Potts, the former Carlisle United midfielder, Hexham lad.
Always remember him at Barnsley. That's where he really started to impress Brad Potts and moved to Preston 6 years ago. Sirkin down the left wing to Watson. Watson trying to slip it through to Job, and he's done well. He's got it through to him.
Wilson,
and Isidore is offside at the
offside.
moment. The ball has been played through into the penalty area. Mayenda to chase, and the keeper slid out, took the ball at Mayenda's feet. But Isidore, that's poor from him, because you could clearly see he was offside.
You could see he was offside. You've got to bend your run.
There's Preston coming out again with Hughes into Potts. Back to Hughes, to Torderson, and back to Hughes, and across now on the far side to Ryan Porteous, Scottish international on loan from Watford. And when he was at Hibs, Sunderland were cited with an interest in Porteous, but it never materialised. Here's Watson, away on the left-hand side to the corner of the penalty area, but he showed too much of the ball to Porteous. And Porteous able to lash it clear, and Job's run onto it just inside the Preston half. Preston, like Cardiff at the weekend, in light blue, all light blue. Here's Hume on the right wing, just inside the Preston half. Slips it inside to Patrick Roberts. Magoma's tried to go with him and tried to stab the ball away from Roberts, but Roberts back to O'Nien. O'Nien to Job, just inside the Preston half. And Roberts has drifted across to the left and plays a lovely ball through for Watson. Edge of the area. Isidore is in the middle, and I think Watson probably
should have played him
in.
Yeah.
But he's bloomed it over the bar.
Decision making.
Well, he was criticised at the weekend for not passing to Job at the edge of the penalty area. Probably not as guilty then, but I think Isidore was in a better position because there were two defenders in front of Watson. Here's Magoma on the left. Swings one up over the halfway line, up onto the head of Rees, drops in midfield, and Greenwood wins it, whips it away from Job, all the way back to the goalkeeper. Has to work a little bit to chase back before it rolled over the goal line. And he strolls out with the ball now, Freddie Woodman, and kicks it down the left. Hume leapt at it, but it slipped over his head and it's gone out for a throw, which Potts will take. Back to Lewis Gibson and back to the goalkeeper just outside his penalty area. We're in the 9th minute, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. It's 0-0. Playing it out down the left, Gibson, Meghoma, and it's come through to Luke O'Nien at the edge of the area, just lets it run on to Patterson and gets the ball back from the goalkeeper. Plays it out wide to Dennis Sirkin, halfway inside the Sunderland half, back to the edge of their own area. He's been closed down, and he's played it awkwardly to Patterson, who's had to quickly play it out to Dan Neal. Torderson's trying to close down O'Nien when the ball's been played back to him. And now, again, they're getting themselves in a bit of a tangle in the middle. And it's won back by Potts to Greenwood. Greenwood, it opens up for him, but he drags his shot wide of the right-hand post. But they were all at 6s and 7s then, Sunderland.
Yeah, just got to be careful.
Start playing it around at the back like that, and you don't do it right, suddenly the team that's pressing finds a way in. Here's O'Nien. Again, he's being closed down by Sam Greenwood. He goes out down the left and plays a longer ball down the left wing. It'll bounce away from Tommy Watson and will go out for a throw to Preston on their right-hand side, which is quickly taken by Kessler Hayden. Back to the goalkeeper, who swings his right foot through it from the right edge of the penalty area. Up it comes now into the Sunderland half, and Rees is making the run forwards. He's tackled though by Dan Neal, taps it to Roberts. Roberts in the middle, across to Sirkin. Sirkin now running at Ledson, plays it through to Isidore, a little back heel, trying to get Watson through, but it was stabbed away by Kessler Hayden. Now on the left for Preston in their half, Hughes over the halfway line finds Potts, and Brad Potts trying to get forwards down the line. The assistant finally flags after the referee had given the throw to Sunderland, and Trey Hume 10-12 yards down from Regis Legris with the throw, short to Dan Neal, back to Hume. Megoma tried to tackle him, it's played into Job, who finds Mayenda on the halfway line. Roberts is behind him, he's tried to lift it over the last man, Porteous, for Isidore to run through, but Porteous has headed it away. Mayenda's got it back now here, and he's skipped one challenge, but Hughes puts his foot through it nearly played it into the path of Isidore, but it's been cleared again by Preston. And then Torderson puts it over the head of Begoma for a throw halfway inside the Preston half on the right-hand side. Roberts leaves it for Hume. 11th minute then, 0-0. Preston 16th in the championship, but on 43 points. I mean, they're 11 points clear of the bottom three. Here's Dan Neal trying to poke it through for Isidore in the penalty area, but again, Preston get the ball clear. High, long ball played up into the Sunderland half by Ledson, then back to the goalkeeper, Anthony Patterson. Mepham at the edge of the area, O'Nien. Here's Mepham on the right, and Mepham out to Hume on this right-hand side. Closed down, it crashes off the back of Potts, back to Hume, and back to Anthony Patterson. In between the two centre halves, Mepham's just outside the area. It gets to Mepham again on this right-hand side. Floated up into the Preston half, comes down for Gibson, pushes it on to Meghoma. He's got Roberts on his shoulder, but Meghoma plays it back to Porteous and out wide to Kessler Hayden, the 22-year-old who we saw as well at Plymouth when he was on loan there. Middlesbrough 1, Queen's Park Rangers 0 in the championship tonight. Up to the halfway line on the left-hand side, Greenwood on the touchline, plays it back to Gibson, into Torderson, back again to Gibson, and then short pass to Hughes. Hughes behind him is Gibson again. Mienda goes to close him down. Play to Hughes on the left, and up to the halfway line. Hume has played straight at him, and he's taking it straight back down a line of blue shirts down this Sunderland right into Mienda in the penalty area. Gets to the goal line, pulls it back over the keeper's hands, and Tommy Watson nods it wide.
He couldn't get up. He couldn't get high enough, could he? Great play again by Mienda.
He used his strength against Mienda to get to the goal line, but all credit to Hume for his run initially. And Mienda pulled it back. The keeper wasn't exactly flapping at it, but he put his right hand up to try and get a touch to it, and it dropped onto the head of Tommy Watson. And Watson, under pressure from Kessler Hayden, headed it wide. Difficult opportunity for him, but Mienda did well. He cleared the goalkeeper, passed out to Meghoma on this left-hand side. Roberts in front of him, inside to Torderson, who plays it down the left touchline. Hume trying to win it from Hughes, and now Greenwood trying to battle with Mepham, and he plays it off Mepham, Sam Greenwood, for a Preston throw halfway inside the Sunderland half. And it's going to be Andrew Hughes who takes the throw to Torderson, the Iceland international, 26 caps for Stefan Torderson, signed in the summer from Silkeborg. Gibson on the halfway line, short pass through to Torderson, back then to Porteous. Porteous out wide to Kessler Hayden on halfway. Watson just in front of him, plays it down the touchline, and Sirkin, well, he could have been penalised for pulling a player back, but the referees played the advantage, and it's clipped into the penalty area over Greenwood's head. Hume heads it away, and it's headed back in again by Kessler Hayden to the edge of the area, and now the offside flag has come up. Free kick to Sunderland.
They did have two players at the back post unmarked.
There's an overwhelming aroma of scampi here. I take it that was
Where's
on the
that
menu.
coming from?
Must have been on the menu in one of the rooms tonight. When I walked in, all I could smell was bacon, and now all I can smell is scampi. Ball knocked out, throw Potts on the halfway line, back to Hughes and Gibson, back to the goalkeeper. It's sort of strangely, it's not pedestrian, the game, but it's not got a bite to it yet. Preston are very tidy, and they've seen a lot of ball. Torderson, optimistic ball, swept up through the Sunderland penalty area and behind for a goal kick. We're in the 16th minute, no goals, and we saw Sunderland come out the blocks on Saturday. Of course, they scored early, and they put a lot of energy into that first 15-20 minutes until they lost Patrick Roberts, but we haven't seen that sense of that energy yet tonight. Isidore's tried to chase down Woodman, but he's passed the ball out to Porteous. Porteous now tried to slip it through the middle. Neil intercepted, and eventually it's Hume who plays it away from Emil Rees back to Anthony Patterson, who passes it across to Luke O'Nien at the corner of the penalty area. Forwards to Job. Job's not the only one on 9 yellow cards tonight, as Porteous plays the ball back to the goalkeeper, because Porteous also is on 9 yellow cards. Sirkin put the press on the goalkeeper, but he's played it out to Gibson. He's played it over the halfway line, looking for Rees, who's looking at the referee, feeling it was pulled down. Or Potts looking at the referee, feeling it was pulled down. But it's back with O'Nien, back to Anthony Patterson, and he kicks long down the left wing. Porteous heads it forwards to the halfway line, straight into the path of Job. Job now Watson's ahead of him, but yeah, you're absolutely right. He needs someone. That movement is not quite there, that slickness that they had at the weekend in that opening 20 minutes. Norwich 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0. A battle of the mid-tablers. Here's Neil again, down the left-hand side, almost at the corner of the penalty area, to Watson on the 18-yard line, back to Dan Neil, then to Sirkin, back to Neil, back to O'Nien. Neil again on that left-hand side, trying to roll it in for Sirkin, but Ledson's going to get across, and he plays it out.
Oh.
There's a big push in the back of Kessler Hayden. Was it?
Yeah, from Luke O'Nien.
No, it's a free kick to...
Just going back
Preston.
what you mentioned before, Nick, we just need a little bit of, shall we say, urgency, don't we?
Yeah, it's lacking, isn't it? It's not just me, is it? It just seems to be they're playing a slightly lower gear than they were at the weekend at the start of the game. Here's Andrew Hughes on to Potts, back to Gibson, to Hughes again on the left, back to Gibson and back to the goalkeeper. And goalkeeper puts his foot through this up to the halfway line.
One of his.
Sirkin went up with O'Nien. Sirkin got his head on it to Job. Now to Watson, left side of central midfield. Turns to try and work himself a bit of space. Edge of the penalty area. And he flicks it back then to Isidore. Back to Job. And Job back to O'Nien just inside the Preston half.
No.
Isidore in the middle gives the ball straight to Potts. Potts now for Preston North End. Rolls it back and back again to the goalkeeper, who kicks again over the halfway line. There's a push in the back of Sam Greenwood by Luke O'Nien. The referee's let it go. It's come down to Sirkin, back to O'Nien, and O'Nien, he tried to thread it through, but it was intercepted. It's come back to Dan Neil in the centre circle for Sunderland. Hume on this right-hand side goes back to Mepham, closed down by Rees, squares it to O'Nien on the left. Greenwood goes to close him down.
No.
And O'Nien's pass is going to go straight up the other end to the goalkeeper. Freddie Woodman rolls it out here, bowls it out to Andrew Hughes. Hughes on this left-hand side. Mienda goes to close him down. Hughes drives it straight at Job. And Job on the right now looks for Mienda. He turns well into the penalty area, trying to get it on his left. He's blocked. Gibson made the block. But nice touch from Mienda to get it on his left foot. It's played up to the centre circle. Rees gets it to Potts. Potts is caught late, but play goes on. It was Hume who caught him. Out to Meghomer on this left-hand side. Edge of the penalty area. In the box he goes. Low ball.
Corner.
And it's tipped around by Patterson for a corner.
Get booked. He's got booked.
And Hume's been booked, yeah. Hume lucky because that takes him up to 9, but of course it's the amnesty tonight.
He doesn't want to pick another one up.
Well, yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, obviously. In the same game, yeah, clearly. But actually, the funny thing is, if he did pick another yellow card up, that wipes out the other one because it would be a red. And
yes,
the 2 yellow cards don't count. It's bizarre, isn't it?
They don't want to be down to 10 men anyway.
No, you don't.
No.
And let's not go down that road now. As the corner from the right-hand side from Preston hangs in the air for a moment, and
Good
Hume
header.
it is who powerful header out from the 18-yard line. Preston still have it though with Kessler Hayden in the centre circle. He's made a run down through midfield and lays it off on the right. The cross lifted into the penalty area.
and the referee's seen a push, I think. It's a free kick to Sunderland in the Sunderland penalty area. 21st minute, Sunderland 0, Preston North End 0. Live on BBC Radio Newcastle. What a big week it is. We're at Coventry on Saturday. No doubt we'll speak to your brother on Friday night on Total Sport ahead of that game.
There'll be no shutting him up.
Well,
they're on a good run, aren't they?
They are. They're on an incredible run, aren't they?
Yeah.
Here at Preston, the ball tapped inside to Torderson. Back it goes to Gibson. Gibson to Hughes. Hughes on the halfway line on the left-hand side for the all-blue Preston North End. Light blue. Comes back in to Gibson. Closed down by Meyenda. Hughes back to Gibson. Meyenda's putting in a lot of yards here, but not getting a lot on the end of it for all that hard work. Played out to Torderson, to Potts. Taps it back. Hughes gets it away from Roberts. Back to Gibson. Gibson floats it down the left wing over Megoma's head and out for a throw to Sunderland on the right, which Trey Hume's going to take. We're almost halfway through the first half. It's goalless. And it's not really got going yet.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't at all. You know, you're just thinking that he's going to get the ball forward a lot quicker than we have done, especially when you've got two up front. But we haven't seen it yet.
Burnley 0, West Bromwich Albion 1. In one of the other games tonight, there are a handful tonight, a handful tomorrow night. As the ball is won in the end by Hughes inside to Torderson. He plays it out to the touchline. Megoma blocked by Hume. It's a throw again to Preston North End down this left-hand side.
I just feel that Sunderland need to pick it up, Nick.
Yes.
You know, you just feel that, you know, Preston are playing with a little bit of confidence, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just got to do things quicker.
I've seen a message here, which I'll read you in just a moment, but Meyenda slipped the ball around the back of Tommy Watson, who was fouled. It's a free kick.
A yellow card.
And I think it is going to be a yellow card for Gibson. And Philip Scott, who's listening at home tonight, has said, come on, Nick, I'm falling asleep here. So I think we've been blamed entirely for what's been put in front of us here, Benno. It's all our fault.
Well, we'll make it exciting then.
So maybe this will be something that gives us a bit more of an uplift in the game.
Yeah, free kick, 30 yards out.
Well, they
should shoot.
They worked the last one very well, didn't they? And can they work another one here? It's on the right of central midfield. Watson,
good delivery,
and Roberts.
That's what you need. Good delivery.
The ball. Watson's going to take it. Chips it into the ball. Boxes come down here for Hume. His left foot shot is blocked. It fell from in 12 yards out, but there were so many blue shirts in front of him that they were able to block. Derby 1, Coventry 0. Bit of a turn up as Botts plays the ball back to the goalkeeper, and Woodman kicks this clear over the halfway line. Neil nods it on. Kessler Hayden's in the middle here and plays it back to Freddie Woodman. He rolls it out to Porteous, and Porteous plays it up to Kessler Hayden, just short of the halfway line. Watson is behind him, and he just got caught, Kessler Hayden, by Watson. He limps away, the low knee from Aston Villa, and the free kick is quickly taken across to Hughes here on the left-hand side, but still deep in the Preston half. Swept right up straight to Trey Hume. He puts it back into the Preston half, but straight to Torderson. Torderson twists away from Patrick Roberts, back to the goalkeeper again. 25th minute, still 0-0. And then Woodman kicks it out, and Roberts is beaten in the air, and he wins the throw down the Sunderland right. It's now Burnley 1, West Brom 1. Stuart McCall is the assistant to Paul Heckingbottom at Preston. He's got quite animated then about something down in the technical area. Ball comes back to Kessler Hayden. who dribbles out into midfield. Watson's gone with him. He rolls it across on the right-hand side to Ledson, who finds Greenwood, who skips around Sirkin. And Greenwood now down the right side of the penalty area, puts a ball into the 6-yard box, which Mepham smashes away for a throw in the corner. Greenwood suddenly accelerated down that right-hand side.
And he just look a little bit sharper than Sunderland at the present moment, Nick, you know.
Kessler Hayden's going down to take the corner kick. Sam Greenwood was on loan at Middlesbrough, of course.
Is it a throw in, isn't it?
Last season, sorry for the throw.
Is it? I think it's a throw.
Yeah, it is a throw.
Possibly
Yeah.
a long
No,
throw.
it was a throw, yeah. It's a long throw. I think you're right, from Kessler Hayden. And they were saying that Ledson's gone across and he's now found Reese on the right side of the penalty area. Taps it back to Kessler Hayden. Behind him, Ledson. The cross cleared by the head of Job. It comes back up to the centre circle. Isidore comes out to try and close down the ball that's played out to the left wing by Torderson. Then Potts taps it to Magoma and then back to Lewis Gibson, who squares the ball to Porteous. Isidore went to close him down. It's back out on the left, eventually to Magoma. On halfway, he skips away, trying to shake off. Patrick Roberts has gone with him, slips it past Dan Neil, gets a touch to it, trying to slip it into Brad Potts. As Sunderland managed to get the ball clear. It's another throw. Sunderland's on the right-hand side. 0-0. Hume with the throw. 28th minute of the first half. Up to Leander. And he's laid it off behind him to Job. And Job quickly cycling it onto Sirkin. Sirkin, he's got on his shoulder Reese, but he's managed to find Watson. Kessler Hayden's in front of him. Watson at the corner of the penalty area. Crosses, looking for Mayenda. Hughes heads it away. Only as far as Mepham in the centre circle. To O'Nien, to Job. And Job now in the centre circle. Lays it off behind him to Mepham. Mepham out wide to Trey Hume, inside to Roberts. Roberts back to Hume. Comes off Brad Potts into Torderson. Forwards here to Greenwood. Tackled by Hume, and now Job wins it. Finds Sirkin on the halfway line, on the left of the centre circle. Isidore crying for it. In the penalty area, runs onto it, but slips over. And the ball rolls behind for a goal kick. More frustration for Wilson Isidore.
Yeah, it's just not happening for Wilson Isidore at the moment.
No. Mayenda, I have to say, looks the likelier of the two.
He does, he looks lively, Mayenda. You know, his retention of the ball has been good. It just seems as that when the ball goes into Isidore, the flicks are not coming off either. No. You know, his runs, you just seen now, he slipped, lost his footing.
Now, long ball. Gibson floats it up for Greenwood to chase. It's bounced away from him. Mepham had it covered. Patterson bowls the ball out on that left-hand side to Dennis Sirkin. Fair number of empty seats in here tonight, and Watson's touch lets him down. It slips out for a throw. Liverpool are losing 1-0 to Paris Saint-Germain in the second leg of their Champions League tie. It's 1-1 on aggregate. Here's Gibson to Hughes. Hughes on to Potts, who got shoved over by Dan Neil, but no free kick. Torderson, just behind the centre circle, leaves it for Porteous. To Torderson again, the 26-year-old. 6'2", plays it across to Hughes, back to Gibson. And he plays it across to Porteous. And Porteous floats one up for Reese to try and get on the end of. He's offside. It's a free kick to Sunderland. We played nearly half an hour. Sunderland 0, Preston North End 0. Job out to Hume on this right-hand side, just shy of the halfway line. Inside again to Dan Neil, who whips it right up to the edge of the Preston penalty area, straight to the goalkeeper, Freddie Woodman, who rolls it out to Porteous. Porteous, Mayenda in front of him, teases him and then plays it back to Woodman at the edge of the area in the D. I'm sure tonight we'll get a crowd posted of something like 38,000, 39,000, but there's nowhere near that in the stadium this evening. Sirkin gets an advantage over on the far side. Inside to Job. Job back to O'Nien. O'Nien across to Mepham. Mepham wide now to Hume. Inside to Patrick Roberts. Roberts inside again to Neil, back to Roberts, who managed to turn and tries to stick the ball through to Isidore on the edge of the penalty area. I think Hume felt there was a foul, but players gone on. Ball played in heavily by Isidore to Hume, who's upended himself, couldn't get the ball under control, and it's eventually out for a throw on the left wing.
It's just taking care of that pass, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, I think you're right, absolutely right. It was a free kick actually on the touchline. Hughes just sweeps the ball back to Gibson. Gibson gets it back again from Ledson in midfield. And then Hughes. Again, look at that long ball up to Reese. It's headed by Mepham forwards down the right, straight to Magoma. And he's trying to get away from Hume now. Hume, of course, who was booked. And Greenwood inside to Potts. Potts back out wide to Magoma. And back behind him to Greenwood, the two loanees. Is swept into the penalty area, headed away by Watson. It's Greenwood trying to win it back and does on the left of midfield, just outside the penalty area. Potts now stabbing it out to Magoma on that left-hand side. He is trying to shake off Hume, leaves it for Torderson, and Torderson plays the cross in towards the penalty spot. And O'Nien trying to dig it out. There's a free kick for a foul on O'Nien by Reese. And it's quickly taken straight out through the middle to Job. Job to Sirkin. And Sirkin playing it back to O'Nien at the edge of the area. Through the middle again to Job. Job closed down, gets it to Hume. There's a strong challenge on Hume by Potts. Right through him, got the ball. Hume just gets up, just ignores it. All in a day's work. Potts is still down, he's kneeling at the moment. The referee's come across to see what the issue is. We're in the 33rd minute. We're live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Sunderland 0, Preston 0. We'll have reaction tomorrow night, of course. And every night, Total Sport from 6 o'clock with Simon Pride. Steve Howie tomorrow night, Marco Gabbiadini. As we work our way to the big weekend. Coventry versus Sunderland on Saturday, the League Cup final on Sunday. Full coverage of that from 10 o'clock in the morning. Watson now with a lovely ball played to him by Hume. He's got Kessler-Hayden on the back foot, slips it through to Sirkin. Sirkin tries to square it behind Isidore, too far in front of Mayenda. And Megoma gets the ball clear back up towards the halfway line. Chested down by Mepham to Neil, now to Hume, back to Dan Neil. Neil into the middle to Job. Job has got Watson just ahead of him. Watson back to Job and now to Sirkin at the edge of the area. Into Watson, blocked by Porteous. Kessler-Hayden plays the ball out here and it's played up to Reese. He needs some support from a Preston point of view. Behind him, it's eventually played to Ledson and he twists away from Isidore and back to Gibson. Gibson to Hughes. Just
going back to that opportunity, Nick, you know, if you want to score, you've got to have that desire to get into the box. You know,
well, Job's trying to get it through to Isidore, who touches it to Roberts. Roberts going through the middle, slips it back to Isidore on the right in the penalty area, shoots and across the face of Mayenda. Mayenda just had to stick a leg out and it would have been 1-0, but it's swept past him behind for a goal kick.
You know, you talk about desire. You know, Sirkin's pulled a great ball back. Mayenda's got to break his neck to get on the end of it. And that's what we're talking about, urgency.
The goalkeeper then placing the ball between the two centre-backs at the corners of the 6-yard box. Isidore and Mayenda stay up. Now it's kicked long over the halfway line, up towards Sam Greenwood, but beaten in the air by Mepham, who leapt above him and headed into the Preston half. Headed back up the other end to Reese. Into the middle, Job stabs a foot at it with Ledson. It comes down to Sirkin. Sirkin over the halfway line, down the left, he's waving at Watson. Watson now on that left-hand side. Sirkin continues his run, runs onto it down the left of the penalty area. Tries to cross, wins a corner. Just stabbed behind by Torderson. Sunderland's first corner of the game, and it's the 36th minute.
You know, you look at certain players and you look at Sirkin. You know, he's got that urgency to get forward, that urgency to get onto the end of things, and that should hopefully trigger the rest of the players off.
Well, hopefully hopefully. Norwich 2, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Watson with the corner then from the left-hand side at the Roker end. Plays it short to Roberts, and Roberts plays it back to Watson on the corner of the penalty area, slips it in to Hume on the left and back behind him to Roberts. Roberts now looking for a way in, slips it away to Hume, who crosses, and it'll bounce through the penalty area. Job is furious. It's gone behind for a goal kick. I think Job felt he was being impeded, actually, by Andrew Hughes. And that was part of his frustration. Goalkeeper throws the ball to Gibson on the left edge of the 6-yard box. He taps it back to Woodman. Woodman taps it again to Gibson, and Gibson floats it down into the Sunderland half, and it comes through to Mepham, who lifts it down that right side for Hume to try and head on. Hughes, though, wins it to Rees, back to Hughes, inside to Torderson. He's held off Mienda. He's found Potts. Potts tries to slip it through to Greenwood, but Roberts intercepted it and then turns on his left foot and gets up to Watson in midfield. He's just trying to lift it over the last man, Porteous, for Isidore, but it's in the middle now, and a header from Gibson brings it down to Torderson, who gets it across on the left as an advantage after a foul by Neil on the Icelander. And as he's still down on the deck, the referee stopped play and come back to check on Stefan Torderson. 38th minute, 0-0, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. It's been a frustrating 38 minutes. Torderson's back up on his feet. It'll be a free kick for Preston just inside the Sunderland half, just to the left of the centre circle. And a pause as Dan Neil reties the laces on his left boot. We can get underway again now. Sam Greenwood. Is he going to leave this for Kessler Hayden, who just stepped over the ball and walks away to his left? Greenwood's going to take the free kick. Both arms raised for a second, and then the ball swept up to the edge of the penalty area. O'Nien heads it out. Potts drives it back into the ground and behind, past the post, for a goal kick to Sunderland in the 39th minute. 0-0 still as Isidore heads it on. It'll roll back to Freddie Woodman outside his penalty area in the middle. Now with Torderson out to the left to Hughes, and Hughes drives this ball upfield, headed away by O'Nien, down to Hume. Hume trying to battle with Magoma, and he gets the ball to Dan Neil. Neil on the right leaves it for Hume, back to Neil. Under pressure from Potts, plays it back to Patterson. Greenwood goes to close him down. Patterson gets it out with some urgency on his left foot towards the halfway line. And now with Torderson in the centre again, who rolls it out to Kessler Hayden. And down the right wing, it's played on by Greenwood. And it will be allowed to roll behind by Luke O'Nien for a goal kick to Sunderland. It's still 0-0. And the ball pushed out to Dan Neil.
Yeah, so a little bit for worry. Again, Trey Hume, a couple of times he's been sloppy. He's already picked up a yellow card. He's just got to be careful.
Watson, Job, just inside the Preston half. Sirkin to his left, just ahead of him, back to Job. And Job then back over the halfway line to Luke O'Nien, who's put his foot on the ball on the left of the centre circle, plays it back to Job on that left-hand side. And Job back again to O'Nien. And up to Mienda in the centre circle. Just twists and turns away from Hughes. He's lost him for a moment, plays it into Roberts in the centre. Roberts now down the right of the penalty area to Hume. Low ball played into the back of the 6-yard box. Easily cleared. And Hume's won it back in a good tackle from Potts and puts it through to Isidore, is headed wide. 4 yards out, put on a plate for Isidore, and he's headed it wide.
I think that just sums up his first half, really. His decision making's been poor on it.
I can't see how he missed this. Beautifully dinked in.
He's got to hit the target.
Nobody next to him. And Isidore headed it wide.
Great pick out by Trey Hume. Can't do any more.
No. in that he'll look back at that Isidore and feel he should have scored. 0-0 still. We're in the 41st minute. Kessler Hayden on the halfway line on the right-hand side into the centre circle, trying to push it through to Potts, who gets a touch out to Megoma on this left wing. Hughes goes down the touch line ahead of him and then plays it back to Torderson, who slips it inside to Potts, back to Torderson, through the middle, Greenwood. Or was it Ledson? No, it was Greenwood. Greenwood put his left foot through it, but over the bar. It's almost a lazy swing at it from Sam Greenwood.
Well, it's moments like that which Reggie Lebrise's talked about, when you create opportunities. You've got to take it. You've got to be ruthless, and we've said that.
And you don't get them much better than that, really. I mean, that ball in from Hume was perfect. Goal kick for Anthony Patterson then.
You know, people might think that, he was unlucky. No, it's a bad miss. You've got to at least hit the target.
Well, if he'd hit the target, he'd have scored, I'm sure. Kick from Patterson, headed by Porteous back into the Sunderland half, and O'Nien just puts his foot through it, almost in hope rather than anticipation. And the ball is nodded back to Woodman, who bowls it out vigorously to Megoma down this left-hand wing. And the ball picked up by Potts and played then out to the left-hand side to Megoma again, and back again to Hughes and the goalkeeper. We've just been handed the match programme tonight because the van broke down delivering them to the game. There's a certain irony on the front cover because it's a picture of Alan Brown, who was dropped tonight.
Referee.
And Kessler Hayden's just awarded Preston a free kick for a foul by Dennis Sirkin. Alan Brown had been disappointed not to play against his former team. He did at Deepdale, because that was the game Job was suspended, the first of 3 games being sent off. Luke O'Nien managed to knock the ball out to Job.
He didn't have a clue where it was.
I don't think he knew where he was.
It's him on the back.
And now Job again stretching to get the ball away from Megoma back to Hume. And then it's played right up the other end to Woodman. 43 minutes have been played, and it is 0-0 still here at the Stadium of Light. Out to the left-hand side, Hughes just back inside the Preston half, back to Gibson, across to Porteous, and Porteous back to Gibson, and then to Hughes. In the 44th minute, down the left, over Hume's head, drops for Reese, inside to Megoma. Did look like a push on Hume. Greenwood lays it to Potts, out to the left again to Megoma, who plays it into the centre to Torderson, who's going to shoot, and he's, did that skim the post? Did Patterson get a fingertip to it? No, it's a goal kick. But it was a vicious shot from Torderson. Had a lot of power. It was very, very low. And for a horrible second, I thought that was going to creep in.
Good strike.
I think Dan Neal's been making the point about the push on Hume. It literally was about an inch past the left-hand post from Torderson. Goal kick then, Patterson, everybody heads upfield up around the halfway line on the left-hand side. And Patterson at the post comes forwards and right-footed through the middle. Up go the heads, and it's Gibson who got his head on it. It drops for Roberts, looking for Mienda. Hughes is cut across in front of him and is forced by Mienda to play the ball out for a throw to Sunderland, deep in the Preston half on the right-hand side. And Roberts will leave this for Trey Hume. Can't be much time added on at the end, maybe 1-2 minutes, I'd have thought. Not really been many stoppages of any note. Hume with his throw then, 20 yards from the corner on the right, looking for some movement, struggling to find it at the minute, and finally drops it for Roberts in a tight space on the touchline, and it's put out by Megoma. 1 minute. As we're into that 1 minute now. Another throw. Hume looking for Isidore, who's having to battle hard to get this, and he's done well to keep hold of it, because it looks like he's being tugged about. He gets a cross in over the head of Watson. Ledson puts it in the air, Sirkin is trying to bring it down over on the far touchline, and he's fouled by the defender, Kessler Hayden. So free kick with 20 seconds or so left from the left touchline almost.
Yeah, this is when you want a quality ball in. Right on half-time, good time to score.
It literally is going to be right on half-time because we've only got 15 seconds left, less than that of the minimum minute. Watson over the ball there. O'Nien's had a word with him. Roberts is there too. O'Nien's jogging into the penalty area. And Watson just replacing the ball.
Good ball in.
2 in the wall.
Hit the space.
The defensive wall has been posted 12 yards out by Preston. And the assistant leaning down, keeping a good eye on this as Watson with his right foot curls this in. Gibson heads it away. The referee looks at his watch and he blows for half time. And it's been a first half with little of note, little to talk about. One brilliant opportunity spurned by Sunderland. Hume dinking a cross in from the right onto the head of Isidore, 4 yards out, and he headed wide of the right-hand post. It's lacked urgency, it's lacked the clinical finishes that we're expecting, and it's lacking that press that we saw in the first half against Cardiff for 25 minutes.
I think the big question is, you know, what's Sunderland doing? Are they waiting or are they making? And at the present moment, they're waiting, aren't they? You've got to make it happen. And by doing that, you've got to gamble. You've got to be ruthless. You know, at the present moment, we seem as though we're just waiting for it to happen. It's not going to happen. You've got to make it happen.
Well, we'll have the second half here live on BBC Radio Newcastle and SAFC.com, when we'll be hoping we make it happen. But at the Stadium of Light, at half-time, it is Sunderland 0, Preston North End 0.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Hi, it's Matt here from The Breakfast Show. I thought I'd pop up here to let you know that I am back after a week off. And this morning, I only managed to press 3 wrong buttons in the studio, so that's a good start. We're back tomorrow, hopefully pressing less wrong buttons, and I'll have all the reaction from Sunderland's game against Preston. Plus, we'll continue our build-up to Newcastle's big League Cup final on Sunday. Tomorrow you hear from former player Keith Gillespie. All that, plus the usual bits and bobs, the Canny Cryptic Clue, What's the Word, and Masters of Pop. And I'll let you know everything you need to know for your morning. See you then.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Just ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Newcastle.
And this is Simon Pride at the Stadium of Light. 0-0 at half-time then between Sunderland and Preston North End. I'll go through the other scores in the Championship and elsewhere in just a moment. Let's just get a few more words, though, of reflection from Gary Bennett. By the way, if you do want to get in touch, 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp, 81333 on text. Begin your messages with the letters BBC. I think Wilson Isidore will be sitting in the dressing room reliving that header in his head, Benno, because it's difficult to know how he missed.
You could have scored it, Simon.
I don't know about that.
Huh?
50 pence piece and all that.
It must have closed his eyes.
Yeah, well, I don't know what. I mean, it was near post, and I guess he just tried one of those kind of jackknife headers in at the near post. But yeah, you've just got to hit the target and it goes in because he had the power.
He had the power. He's got the old goal to aim at, and obviously people are asking, how did you miss the target? Because it was a great ball in by Trey Hume.
Yeah, but that was Sunderland's best chance of the game. Preston did come close with that long-range effort just before half-time as well. On the whole, not the greatest half of football you've ever seen, Benno. Not a great deal of shape and pattern to Sunderland's game, was there really?
No, not at all. I just think that it's lacking a little bit of urgency. You know, at times we have got round that 18-yard box. We have pulled the ball back, but there's nobody who's dying to get on the end of things. You know,
yes.
we seem as though we're just going through the motions.
Yes,
there's no urgency.
Yeah. Well, why would that be?
Well, I don't know. You know, you're talking about, you set up with 2 wingers. You've got Watson on one side, Patrick Roberts on the other side. And again, from the right-hand side, Patrick Roberts, you don't seem as though he's got the ball on the right-hand side. He seems to be drifting in field to get the ball. You've got 2 strikers. I've got to say that for me, Meander's done well. His retention of the ball's been good. At least he's been a threat. He's been trying to get behind. Wilson Isidore, there's too many times I think that, he's tried to flick. It hasn't come off.
Yeah.
And then another occasion, he's lost his footing. So it's just not happening. And then it just summed it up, that opportunity near the end.
Benno, thank you very much indeed. Benno will be back with Barnsley for the second half, which is coming up very shortly. It's half-time at Burnley. They went behind to West Bromwich Albion. Swift with the opener on 20 minutes. Fleming equalised for Burnley. 1-1 at half-time there. Cardiff 0, Luton 0. Derby County lead Coventry by 1-0. Clark with the goal for Derby. Middlesbrough 1 up on QPR. Conway with the goal for Middlesbrough. And Norwich are 2 up on Sheffield Wednesday. Borja Sainz and Chernak with the goals for Norwich. And it is Sheffield United 0, Bristol City 0. That one was an 8 o'clock kickoff, so they're not at half-time yet in that one, but it is goalless at Bramall Lane. Now, in the Champions League this evening, last 16 ties, Barcelona are through. They've beaten Benfica 3-1. 4-1 the score on aggregate. It's Bayer Leverkusen 0, Bayern Munich 0, but Bayern Munich lead 3-0 on aggregate there, so they should be pretty safe. Inter Milan lead Feyenoord by 1-0, so they look safe, 3-0 on aggregate. So the most interesting tie is at Anfield, because Paris Saint-Germain have scored there. It is 1-0 to them on the night, 1-1 on aggregate. Dembele with the goal, and so very interesting situation for Liverpool, who of course are Newcastle's opponents in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. Ando wanted 1-0 in extra time and possibly penalties. He might yet get his wish in League One. Birmingham leads Stevenage by 1-0. It is Blackpool 1, Cambridge United 1, Bristol Rovers 1, Bolton 1, Crawley 0, Charlton 1, Exeter 1, Mansfield 0, Reading 0, Wrexham 0 in League 2, Wimbledon 1, Cheltenham 1. It's Accrington 3, Newport 0, Colchester 1, Port Vale 0. It's Grimsby 0, Notts County 0, Salford 0, Chesterfield 2. Our featured non-league match is the game between Heaton Stannington and Newcastle United's under-21s in the semi-finals of the Northumberland Senior Cup. A big crowd there, I gather, and one of that crowd is BBC Radio Newcastle's Paul Dixon. How's it going, Dicker?
Oh, great game here, Simon. It really is, and you're right with a big crowd. There's 1,652, which is creating a great atmosphere here at Heaton Stand. The half-time score is Heaton Stannington 1, Newcastle 0, and really it could have been 3-0. Two great chances for Heaton Stand. The first one in 4 minutes when Dan Catewell headed past the post, where for me it would have been easier to score. And then 2 minutes later, Bailey Adamson, again with a corner, again should have scored and headed it past the post. But then on 15 minutes, Stan did go ahead. Leighton Hopper at the back post forced the ball over the line after Bailey Adamson had headed across the goal, and there was Hopper to slot the ball in. But a bit of a blow for Newcastle on 43 minutes when Scott Bailey, second yellow card for a foul on Connor Walker, which meant Newcastle are now down to 10 men. It's a very, very young Newcastle United team, 17, 18 and 19-year-olds. And it took them around about 25 minutes to have their first shot, because it was all hit and stand up to then. But as I say, it's a real good game with a good crowd here. Half-time score, Heat and Stand 1, Newcastle 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Dicker. We'll catch up with Dicker again at full time. It's Peterborough Sports 0, South Shields 1. And Blythe Spartans 0, Gainsborough Trinity 1, the other non-league scores of note to bring you. In the basketball ENBL playoff quarter-final first leg between Barkham Bears and the Newcastle Eagles, it finished 87-84. The Eagles beaten by 3 points. They were actually doing well. They were 9 points up at half-time, but a bad third quarter led to them being pegged back, and they lost 87-84 in the end, but the second leg to come. Now, Rugby Union's Hadrian Cup took place at the Newcastle Falcons ground, Kingston Park, at the weekend. What is the Hadrian Cup all about, I hear you ask? Well, BBC Radio Newcastle's Rebecca Harding went along to find out.
It's Saturday, the 8th of March, and I'm here at Kingston Park for the Hadrian Cup, one of the UK's biggest LGBTQ plus sporting events. I'm here to see what it's all about, and it starts with the hosts, Newcastle Ravens.
I'm Chris Button. I am the chair of the Newcastle Ravens. So they actually formed back in 2006, and it was a way originally to get gay and bisexual men into playing rugby and sport. A lot of people that come to these sort of teams, 9 times out of 10 have had bad experiences in the past, especially within a sporting environment, and maybe just haven't given sport a go. So we aim to provide that safe space. So the Hadrian Cup originally started 15 years ago. We're actually celebrating its 15th birthday. I think it's become a staple of our community's rugby calendar. It's just getting to show that, and especially this year with us having it here at the home of the Falcons, we do belong in sport and we do belong in rugby. It's just so nice to see it on such a big scale. So it means the world to me.
Players flock from far and wide to take part, even from as far as Norway.
My name is Chris Eldracker, and I play with the Oslo Ribalda Rugby Club. We love playing against these teams. They're great people, great fun, and they're always welcoming. It's a nice city. I mean, it's really easy to get around, lots of green space, and God, the weather is so much better than it is in Oslo right now.
My name's Dean Gray. I'm a referee for today. This is one of the best organised tournaments, I think, in the county, if not the country, and it's promoting LGBTQ plus rugby in the northeast. It's fabulous.
I am Ben, and I play for Corsairs. It's great. It's an inclusive competition. So, as I say, bringing everyone together, it's much more needed, especially in sports at the moment. There's so much hate. So having these sort of competitions is fantastic.
I'm here supporting the Glasgow Raptors. It's a fantastic weekend when everyone from all over the country can come along and have a weekend of great fun playing rugby, but also just the freedom just to be ourselves for a whole weekend of freedom, laughs and fun.
My name is Oliver, and I play with the West London Warriors. As a trans person, it's it takes a specific kind of team to feel welcome in sport, because trans people have a higher barrier of getting into sport because we might feel more insecure about our bodies or not as included in everything. But having queer sports teams and queer sports competitions makes you feel very included.
My name is Kieran. I play for the London Stags. I'm nearly 40, and all of a sudden you start looking back at what used to be and where we've come today. Queer people in sport and it being something that exists in the first place is something which I guess we're really lucky to have.
Doyley, and I play for West Country Wasps. It's Devon. Just inclusivity is everything. It's just great to really feel especially because we're from such a far away place where it's quite spotty and not going to get many teams in there, to have all over the country and international as well. Just seems that it just gives that whole feel of you're not alone. I absolutely love it. People are so friendly. It's a warmth in the city that I really like. Northerners in general are just great, warm people.
My name is Rudy, and I play for the Thebans, Caledonian Thebans. I love how everyone's got a really good attitude when it comes to rugby. Everyone has a good time. I love Newcastle. I love the crack. I love the tune. I love it.
Hey, Robbie, and I'm from Aberdeen Tax Alley. It's just allowing people to be themselves and to play rugby and get involved in sport, which otherwise might not be able to do.
But Robbie's not just here for the rugby.
Oh, you've got some lovely bridges over the Tyne Weir. And you've got a metro, and I love a wee metro me. But then you also got to bring out the Nuki Brown, and Pat be doing me a wet chamois after a couple of them. They're lovely.
That was the Hadrian Cup there. Rebecca Harding there. Oh, there's the final whistle, giving us a lovely flavour of what went on over the course of the weekend. A familiar voice in our rugby union commentator, Dean Gray, who's doing a spot of refereeing at the weekend as well. I've just got time before the second half begins here at the stadium of 0-0 between Sunderland and Preston to tell you about some of the other things happening. Manchester United have announced plans to build a new £2 billion 100,000 capacity stadium. Sir Jim Ratcliffe said that he wanted to build the world's greatest football stadium. Has he never seen Shield Park? Stuart Pearce, meanwhile, says he feels absolutely brilliant after recovering from a heart scare during a flight. The England international was travelling from Las Vegas. The flight was diverted to St John's. He was taken to hospital. Says he's feeling okay. And Golden Ace, the shock 25-1 winner of the champion hurdle at Cheltenham today. Preston are back out. Sunderland will be following them shortly. The second half coming up from the Stadium of Light with Barnsley and Benno next.
Total Sport North East.
Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett, MBE.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
as the Preston players emerge. Sunderland still yet to emerge. Some thought maybe at half-time that Tommy Watson's not had the greatest of first halves. Might have been changed at half-time for Romain Mundle, but he was out there with the substitutes warming up, which was probably an indication that he is not going to be switched yet. If at all, maybe not. He might suddenly burst into life in the second half. The Sunderland starting 11 was Patterson, Hume, Mepham, O'Nien and Sirkin, Neil and Jobe, Roberts, Watson, Isidore and Mayenda. The bench is Moore, Brown, Rigg, Mundle, Sealt, Alexic, Hjelder, Anderson and Jones. Trey Hume picked up a yellow card in the first half. Lewis Gibson picked up a yellow card for Preston North End. Freddie Woodman, their goalkeeper. Back three of Ryan Porteous and Lewis Gibson, with Andrew Hughes playing as left wing back effectively, or left sided centre half of the three, but pushing out as a wing back at times as well. Kane Kessler-Hayden out on the right wing. In midfield, Stefan Torderson, Brad Potts and Sam Greenwood, with Ryan Ledson in the middle as well. Emil Rees up front. Jason Megoma is technically the left wing back, but three at the back, two wing backs for Preston North End, Kessler-Hayden and Megoma, but Hughes pushing out a lot on that left-hand side as well. As Sunderland emerge now for the second half, led by Dan Neil, who comes out. They will kick off the second 45. Referee Lewis Smith, all in black. Sunderland defending the Roker end in the second half as we look down from the back of the West Stand, kicking from right to left, kicking towards the North Stand. 266 Preston fans here tonight, and now we're all set to get underway. The referee just raising his hands to the respective assistants, and a thumbs up, a look at the watch, a blow of the whistle, and the second half starts. 0-0. Will there be a bit more about Sunderland in this second 45? A little bit more urgency in terms of looking to try and get the ball inside that Preston penalty areas. The ball threaded through by Sam Greenwood, cleared by O'Nien to Mepham, and Mepham, Sam Greenwood goes to put pressure on him. He plays the ball back to Anthony Patterson, who's in green tonight, up onto the head of Lewis Gibson. Sorry?
No, I'm just talking to myself.
Oh, are you?
Nicholas. Yeah.
What were you talking to yourself about?
You've got to challenge him. The ball's in the air a long time.
I see. Excellent, yeah. Thanks for that. Let's back with Freddie Woodman in lemon yellow. If you have any more thoughts, just air them.
Okay.
Let them out. Let them out there. There's a ball poked straight at Dan Neil by Andrew Hughes. And now Roberts. Neil gets the ball back again from Hughes, who's intercepted, but then it's given away again. Magoma to Hughes to Torderson, and up to the edge of the centre circle. Comes back here to Porteous, and Porteous threading it through the middle to Torderson, who plays it to the right to Ledson, and Ryan Ledson on to Greenwood. Rees is ahead of him. Greenwood, Watson is chasing back to try and get hold of Sam Greenwood. He's slipped it through to Rees though, pulled it back here, and the shot at the edge of the D from Potts is blocked, and Sunderland get the ball cleared to the halfway line. Sam Greenwood went down, but he's picked himself up now, and it's with Torderson. Plays it to Ledson, and out wide again to Kessler-Hayden, who's on loan from Aston Villa. He slipped it inside to Sam Greenwood. He's trying to shoot again from Greenwood. It's risen over the crossbar and gone behind. We start talking about Sam Greenwood, and obviously he started at Sunderland. He went to Arsenal and loan at Middlesbrough. We always talk about, you'd think he'd been around for years. He's still only 23 years old.
Yeah, he was at Leeds as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, he is Leeds now. He's on loan from Leeds now.
But Preston have started the second half.
Yeah.
Better than Sunderland.
Yeah, they have. A kick from O'Nien onto the head of Gibson, through the middle again. Very easy for Preston to pick these balls up. Rees to Megoma down that left-hand side. Roberts and Hume being forced back. Torderson plays it back into his own half to Hughes.
wide on the left, and it's into the middle again, and Gibson's playing this through and then laying it off behind to Porteous. He plays it across to Hughes again on the left of the centre circle. In the 48th minute, it's with Torreson on the centre spot almost. He plays it through the middle again to Greenwood. Joe makes a challenge, but it's back with Greenwood. The pass from Rees. Greenwood's ball breaks for Potts, and it's blocked by Sirkin in front of Patterson, and it won't go out. It's still in the penalty area. Magoma on the left-hand side now to try and get the ball back in across, but it's dropped for Neil to hook away up to Gibson, though. And on that left-hand side, Hughes, tackled by Isidore, who gets another touch to put it out. And Preston have started the second half, as you say, Benno, much the brighter. Derby 2, Coventry 0. Kessler Hayden's header, and it wasn't a comfortable save by Patterson. It almost bounced off him, but he's run onto it and picked him up.
Yeah, and you can see that Preston have obviously made one or two alterations to the team, and seems as though it's working at the moment.
Cardiff 1, Luton 0 in that big game at the bottom of the table. Watson trying to get the ball down the right to Roberts, but across comes Magoma and puts the ball out behind for a corner to Sunderland. Their second of the game, their first of the second half. Roberts is going to take it.
You know, they've tweaked it a little bit, Preston.
Watson's on the corner of the penalty area. Magoma's standing next to him. Magoma, who's on loan from Brentford. And Roberts from the right curls this in, bobbles in front of the keeper, and Torderson smashes it away. Out to Magoma on that left wing. He finds
look at the far
Greenwood.
side.
He's played it straight into the path of Rees. Rees is trying to get away from Joe. Rees into the penalty area, low eyes. Played a low drive, well wide, probably about 10, 12 yards wide.
Well done, Joe Bellingham.
But Joe did well to get back and get on his shoulder, put him off.
Because we've got two players going out for the ball. It's taken straight out of the game.
The ball is out now for a throw to Sunderland on the left. Sirkin will take this back to Luke O'Nien at the corner of the penalty area, passes it back to Anthony Patterson, cross to Chris Mepham, and then out wide to Trey Hume, booked in the first half. Plays it on to Roberts. Roberts cuts into the centre, just behind the centre circle, loses Magoma, but he needs some help, as you say. As everyone's a bit square here. He's taking this on, Roberts, into the Preston half. He doesn't know where to go because Neil now behind him, but it's slipped through past Greenwood to Mepham, and Mepham taking this on in the Preston half, trying to find Isidore, who thought he was fouled. The referee doesn't.
You've got to do better. You've got to do better.
Now out to Torderson. Torderson through the middle, slips it away from Watson to Ledson. Ryan Ledson down the right wing to Kessler Hayden, down the line again, looking for Rees, and he's tackled. It's a throw to Sunderland. O'Nien's not best pleased, and Kessler Hayden has been booked. I think Kessler Hayden stepped on O'Nien's hand, but it's a yellow card for the Aston Villa loanee in the 52nd minute. It's still 0-0. Sirkin back to Patterson, kicks this up to the halfway line, looking for Isidore. He gets ahead on it, drops for Torderson. Watson trying to get the ball off him, but the Icelander turns it back to Gibson, who drives it back to the goalkeeper at the edge of the D. Woodman swings his right foot through it, and Greenwood's going to put pressure on Sirkin here, and he's pushed him down, Greenwood, and it's a free kick to Sunderland. In between the penalty area and touchline, back to Patterson, across to Mepham. Mepham being chased by Emil Rees, leaves it for Hume, trying to get it on to Mienda, but somehow it's cleared again by Preston North End. It's a throw to Sunderland. Mepham recovers a ball finally, back The throw goes to Anthony Patterson, who's come outside his penalty area. Plays it eventually across to Sirkin on the left-hand side, looking for the run of Job this time down the left, but Porteous comes across, hooks it back up over the halfway line, comes down to Dan Neal. Sirkin battles with Ledson loses the battle. It's back to 09. He plays it across to Hume on the far side.
This is where you need runners. Wilson, Isidore or somebody needs to make a run.
Well, Roberts is trying to get on the end of it. It's nearly cut out by Magoma, but it eventually runs back to Woodman. Plays it straight out in midfield to Dan Neal. Across to the left-hand side to Sirkin. Sirkin now looks up, drives a low ball wide of the post. A couple of yards wide of the foot of the right-hand post. 54th minute. Sunderland 0, Preston North End 0. Live on BBC Radio Newcastle.
I just think we just need Wilson, Isidore and again Meander at times just to make them runs behind.
Here's Woodman, takes a short pass from Gibson, then plays it up over the halfway line to Rees. Preston all in blue, light blue. Brad Potts out to the touchline, and Andrew Hughes is not knocked out for a throw to Preston. Preston at home to Portsmouth at the weekend. Their FA Cup tie with Aston Villa is at the end of the month, March the 30th. Ball comes back here to Woodman. It will be at Deepdale, that FA Cup quarter-final. Long ball played down into the Sunderland half, down the left wing. Mepham lets it roll out a few yards from the corner flag on the right-hand side. Hume comes back to take the throw.
I bet they're going to bring Mundell on, aren't they?
Sheffield United at home tonight to Bristol City, I think it is, isn't it? 0-0 in that game. That was an 8 o'clock kickoff tonight. Here's Mayenda, tapped to him by Isidore. Mayenda's on the break here. He's got Gibson on the back foot. Isidore's made a run through into the penalty area, gets the ball, quite squares it, and Mayenda puts it over the top. Dropped on his left foot.
Communication, Nick.
But I don't know if Watson put him off. He was on his shoulder.
Communication.
The pair of them ran into the penalty area together, Watson and Mayenda, and I think Watson just put Mayenda off. Watching a replay here.
But again, good play by Mayenda. He's the one who's got on the end of it.
Got on the end of it.
Yeah.
And the ball eventually being played back to Woodman here. I think, there was a bit of a collision in 6 yards out, but Mayenda dropped on his left foot over the bar. 0-0 still. Ball played up to Emil Rees. It came down from he ran in his favour actually. Kessler Hayden squaring it again, and Greenwood now has got his back to goal, turns it back to Rees, and he's put it over. I mean, we talk about Sunderland being clinical. If Preston were clinical tonight, they could be 3-0 up.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned the lad, and he's sort of led the line quite well.
The Dane, yeah, Emil Rees. Cardiff 1, Luton 1. Now there's going to be, I think Riggs going to come on. Kick from Patterson, and Mayenda's pushed down by Gibson, who's been booked earlier on.
You just look at Mayenda, and I think out of the two strikers, he's the one who's the busiest.
Well, he is the busiest. And you always said, I said in the first half, he looked the more likely, or looks the more likely to score. But a free kick, it's going to be a double swap. Mundell and Rigg, I think, are both coming on.
Who do you think they'll come on for?
Well, Watson will be one of them.
Isidore or Roberts?
I think Isidore. Do you?
Yeah, I think he'll just play the extra person in the middle.
Yeah.
Just to get us a little bit more.
He prefers the formation.
Yeah.
Hume with a free kick, lifts it into the penalty area from just inside the Preston half, and Gibson heads it out to touch. So the change is about to be made. Mepham's going to take a throw firstly, drops it down on the left to Sirkin. It's knocked out off of, Ledson's hurt. He's waved at the referee. So he now is crouched on the pitch, and the referee's bent over him, and Ledson picks himself up. Rigg and Mundell getting their instructions. Middlesbrough 2, Queen's Park Rangers 0. We're in the 58th minute here. It's a throw to Sunderland. Sirkin is going to take this. Watson's making some movement. Job is behind Isidore, but the ball is cleared by Preston. Only as far as O'Nien and Dan Neil. Neil pokes it back to the centre spot to Mepham. Mundle's ready to come on. Rigg won't be far behind. And Hume plays the ball across to O'Nien. Out wide to Sirkin. Sirkin inside to Job, who stabbed it down the left wing looking for Watson, but it was cleared by Preston. They got it up to Greenwood, down the right wing, and Job slides in and makes a good challenge.
Well done.
Throw to Preston. Sunderland can get the changes made now.
Double change.
Yeah. And Watson coming off for Mundle. So it's just a question of, is it Roberts or Isidore for Rigg? Our money's on Isidore, and in fact it's Mayenda, and I'm actually slightly surprised by that.
I am surprised.
I thought he's more likely to score, but he's the one
who's the busiest.
The busiest.
Yeah. I don't think he's happy, Mayenda, about that. You can tell.
No,
he's not happy about that. He doesn't deserve to come off. I don't think.
I'm with you on that one. I think, if you're going to take one of the two strikers off, it would have been Isidore, not Mayenda. But there you are. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We're on the hour mark.
Let Isidore go and score now.
Fair enough. If he does, all to the good. What do we know? On the halfway line, back to Gibson from Preston. Gibson left again to Hughes, back again to Gibson. Gibson closed down by Patrick Roberts, plays it back to Freddie Woodman, and Woodman drives this ball upfield looking for Kessler Hayden, who gets above Sirkin but heads the ball behind for a goal kick to Sunderland. Played just about an hour. It's goalless at the Stadium of Light. Here's Rigg getting his first touch. Quite a strong one back to Patterson. Greenwood went to close him down. Patterson kicks clear. Roberts picks it up on the right wing. Brad Potts goes through and takes the ball out for a throw to Sunderland on the right. Halfway inside the Sunderland half, the foot of the east stand. Hume with the throw. Movement from Dan Neil. He finds Rigg. Onto Roberts, back to Rigg in his own half still. Nice ball through the middle to Job. Job now out to Mundle on this left-hand side. Mundle taken on Kessler Hayden, cutting into the middle, pushing it to Job. Little back heel to Mundle. Mundle then to Rigg. Rigg through to Isidore in the penalty area. But Brad Potts got a touch. It takes it out and Isidore's back on it. Now he will shoot and shoots wide from the back of the D. Wide of the left post. Opened up nicely, started by Rigg. But the blue line couldn't be broken. And it's still 0-0. Played 61 minutes. The referee being urging Woodman to get on with things. He threw the ball then to Gibson on the corner of the 6-yard box. He just quickly kicked it back to Woodman. And it's been kicked out for a throw to Sunderland on the far side. Inside their own half. Hume with the throw. Neil came across. Roberts has dropped back. Neil's come back into space in front of Potts to Roberts. Back to Neil. And Neil swings the ball into the path of Sirkin. Chests it into the Preston half. Mundle's wide of him. Mundle on the left. Cutting back inside. Into the middle to Job. Job across to the right to Roberts. Roberts now the overlap from Hume. Roberts into the penalty area. Trying to come round onto his left. Trying to shake off Potts. Gets a cross in, but just away from Job and headed behind by Kessler Hayden for a corner. Mundle places the ball on the left then at the north end for this third Sunderland corner. Up comes Roberts to the left-hand side. There's a lot of movement, a lot of jockeying for positions. The ball's played in and cleared, headed out by Ledson from the corner of the 6-yard box. Back down the left to Mundle. Mundle looks up, crosses, and it's going to be cleared by Torderson straight to Joe, but he couldn't hit it first time. So he's brought it across to the right-hand side of midfield and plays it into the middle to Roberts. And Roberts now slips it through to Hume, back to Job in the middle, and he looks for Mundle on the left, who nods it into the penalty area or down the left, looking for the run of Sirkin, but the defender, it's Greenwood actually, stands his ground and gets the ball clear, back out to Kessler Hayden, or to Ledson, who gets it up here into midfield, but there's a foul on O'Nien, but the referee plays the advantage. Rigg leaves the ball for Roberts on the right-hand side, and Roberts now trying to shake off Megoma. There's a lot more urgency about Sunderland since they made the 2 changes. Here's Rigg. Rigg sweeps in across. No. It'll go through the penalty area and behind for a goal kick. Yeah, there's a lot more about them. And now Will Keane is going to come on for Greenwood, for Preston. It's their first change being made in the 64th minute. Nil-nil. Greenwood looks frustrated. He had a couple of swings at the ball, but each time over the bar. Freddie Woodman has the ball at the back, the 2 centre-halves either side of him. Throws the ball down just short of his 6-yard line and taps it to Porteous. Played out to Ledson. Ledson now to the edge of his area, into the path of Gibson. Gibson going through the middle, being chased by Isidore. Manages to hold him off, but can't hold off the challenge of Dan Neal. But the loose ball rolls to Ledson. Back to Porteous, and he drives it upfield looking for Kessler Hayden. And Hayden gets his head on it, but it drops for Sirkin. But then Kessler Hayden sticks a foot in, and Luke O'Nien has to hook the ball on into midfield, where Reese tries to tap it down here to Potts, who goes down a bit too easily at the edge of the penalty area, and Mepham tidies up with the ball back to Patterson, and Patterson kicks it up into the centre circle. Isidore heads it on, nobody there. He looks either side of him and can't work it out. Comes back eventually to Porteous on the right, to Kessler Hayden, and then Torderson, forwards to Ledson, back to the Icelandic international Torderson, into Reese. Dan Neal's on his shoulder. Reese has held him off. Reese with his left foot scores.
You can't
22 yards out, drove it in the bottom left corner, and in the 66th minute, Preston North End take the lead.
Yeah, we talked about him, but the ball's gone into his feet, and instead of getting tight, we've dropped off him, which allowed him to twist and turn. He's turned and he's realised that there's nobody near him, and he gets his shot away.
He opened up that space and drove it low into the bottom left-hand corner. It's his 10th goal of the season. And Preston lead by a 1-0. Bit ironic, since Sunderland have been looking so much better.
I know, the ball's gone into him, look, and we back away from him. You can't back away from him, you've got to get tight.
Sunderland 0, Preston North End 1. The Dane, Emil Rees.
And we said that he's been a thorn. He's led the line well for him.
You mentioned that a few minutes ago, how well he's been leading the line for them. I said he had a few attempts previously, but they'd all ballooned over or wide. Now, that was clinical. We talked about clinical.
That's right.
He's delivered clinical.
Right. Great touch. Retention of the ball. Realised nobody around him. Turns. Hits the target.
Sunderland have it all to do then. 67th minute, trailing by a 0-0. The nearest they come tonight was Isidore heading wide from 4 yards. And now Preston have got something to hold on to as well. The 266 Preston fans, might not be many of them, but they're making themselves heard now at the top of the North Stand. Here's Mundle on the left. Kessler Hayden on his shoulder. Mundle plays it back to Luke O'Nien. Then to Mepham on the halfway line. Forwards to Rigg. Rigg wide looking for Hume. Gets on the ball and finds Rigg. And now Roberts. Roberts on the right side of midfield. Goes round one. Tries to slip the ball through to Dan Neal, who finds Isidore. Lays it off
nobody in the box.
To Hume. Back to Roberts. Roberts crosses. looking for Sirkin or Mundle, but it's
Nobody
headed
there.
away to Torderson at the edge of the area.
Got a gamble.
Gets it out to Reese, who leaves it for Potts. Potts gets it into the path now of Kessler Hayden. Will Keane's making that run into the penalty area as well. Back to Torderson, and Torderson back onto the halfway line to Hughes. Hughes out to Megoma, back onto halfway. Gibson puts the ball out because Kessler Hayden is down on his back in the Sunderland half, just a few yards in from touch, and the referee is allowing the physio on.
I think when you sum up and you look at the both teams, Nick, I think one thing which stands out is that, Preston, they've got urgency, haven't they? We just seen it there when they break forward, they break with a bit of pace. When the ball goes into the striker, it sticks. The retention of the ball is good. The goal just summed it up.
Yes.
He had belief that he's going to score.
Yeah.
He was ruthless. Bang, goal.
Yes.
And that's the difference between the two teams. He puts his foot through the ball. It's a great strike.
It was a good strike. We're seeing it again on our monitor here.
He pulled away from. Look how
pulls
he's
away
twisted.
from Dan Neil.
How,
and then
how
smashes
easy
it with
was
his
it?
left into
How
the corner.
easy was it for him to work the space there? We back off him. Cuts inside and bang.
Sunderland people watching around the penalty area. Kessler Hayden's back up on his feet. It looked like he was either cramped or he was just stretching his hamstring. But he's walking back down the touchline towards the Preston technical area. All the players drift back out. It'll be a drop ball from referee Lewis Smith. We're not going to get a repeat then of the 0-0 at Deepdale, in which Lewis Smith was also the referee. In fact, he's given the ball to Patrick Roberts. So Roberts is going to take a throw for Sunderland, and I think he's going to... It looks like he's poised to throw it back to Preston.
They have possession of the ball.
They did have possession.
Yeah.
Here then is Woodman just outside the penalty area. He kicks into the Sunderland half for up to the 70th minute. 20 minutes then or so for Sunderland to turn this around. Job turns it around, back behind him to Neil, out to Sirkin, wide again to Mundle. Kessler Hayden waiting to come back on. Sirkin to Neil on the halfway line on the left of the centre circle, pushing it on to Job in the middle of the Preston half. Will Keane is opposite number 7 in front of him. He plays it wide to Hume, whips the ball into the penalty area. Gibson knocks it out. It drops for Mepham, who chests it across to Trey Hume. Hume back to Mepham, just inside the Preston half, and down the right again to Hume. Tried to slip it inside, but straight to Hughes, now to Megoma and to Potts, back to Torderson, and in the middle's Ryan Ledson. Mundle goes to close him down, onto Reese on the penalty, on the centre spot, and out wide on the right. Kessler Hayden's back on, floats the ball up towards Will Keane at the edge of the area, but it bobbles through to Anthony Patterson, who gets it out quickly to Rigg. Rigg in his own half, across to Sirkin. Sirkin now bringing it up to the halfway line, takes it on into the Preston half, leaves it for Dan Neil, and Dan Neil to Job, and Job closed down by Torderson, gets it to Rigg and gets it back, finds Neil just ahead of him in the middle of the Preston half. Torderson blocks, it falls to Job.
It needs movement
Job
here.
Plays out to Roberts. And Roberts on the right, the corner of the penalty area, cuts across the back, shoots, it's off the head of a defender. And it's punched out by Woodman, who came out only as far as Roberts, who puts it back in again. And then Sunderland find Kessler Hayden on this right-hand side, getting in front of Mundle to bring it away and play it up to Keane, who plays it out to Reese on the right, just inside the Sunderland half. A block by O'Nien, falls to Mundle. Reese trying to win it back, and he does. One back by O'Nien. O'Nien battles with Reese. He falls to Ledson. O'Nien goes through Ledson.
I think it just sums it up there, Reese. Battling, fighting to win the ball back.
This free kick just back inside the Preston half on the right. Ledson hauled up by Ryan Porteous, the Scottish defender on loan from Watford. He takes the free kick, plays it to Gibson in the middle of the Preston half. Their away record, only 3 wins away from home this season. Drawn 6 and lost 9. The ball's gone out, but it's a free kick for a foul by Mepham. A few yards in from touch on the left.
So the problem you've got, Nick, as well, you look at Emil Rees. You ask our 2 centre-backs, have they been in the game? I'll tell you what they'll say they have done, because he's put himself about. They've let him know that he's around. And you look at Wilson Isidore against their 2 centre-backs, and they say, no, it's so easy. And that's the difference.
Torderson and Magoma over the free kick, a yard or 2 in from the touchline. 22, 23 yards in the corner. There's left for Torderson to whip in here. Headed away by Isidore.
This is when
possible
you
break from Mundle, but he needs some support. He's tackled by Torderson. It's come back to Will Keane, who's looking for Rees, and the flag stayed down, but the ball ran away from him behind for a goal kick. In the 74th minute, Sunderland 0, Preston 1, but a change being made here, and Torderson's going off, and Ben Whiteman's coming on. Straight swap in the middle by Paul Heckingbottom. And Sheffield Wednesday have had a comeback at Norwich. It's 2-2 there, Carrow Road. Luke O'Nien, the ball at his feet. Ben Whiteman is on now in the middle of the Sunderland half, as O'Nien taps the ball to Anthony Patterson. Preston leading through Emil Rees's 66th minute goal. Is played out to Rigg, now to Dan Neil, on to Job, back into the path of Rigg, and across on the far side to Hume. Hume taps it back inside on halfway to Rigg. Rigg plays it to O'Nien. O'Nien to the left, Sirkin into the Preston half. And he now looks to play it back to O'Nien on the halfway line in the centre circle. Sunderland in their red and white, Preston in their light blue, and out to Mundle on the left wing. Mundle looks up halfway inside the Preston half, back to Neil, in the middle to Job. Job swings a ball out wide right to Patrick Roberts, who brings it down in front of Magoma, cuts across into the middle again. Roberts still going. Roberts still at the edge of the D, crashes a shot against Mundle, comes back out, and eventually to Mundle off Roberts. But Mundle can't work it through. But Sirkin down the left wins a corner off Kessler Hayden. Sheffield United 1, Bristol City 0. We're in the 76th minute, bear in mind that game kicked off at 8 o'clock. Mundle with Roberts on this left-hand side for Sunderland. Roberts walks away. Magoma's out here as well. Mundle puts a poor ball in. Easily cleared at the near post by Preston. Up almost to Rees. O'Nien managed to get the right side of him and get the ball back inside to Dan Neil in the centre circle. Forwards to Rigg. Rigg out wide to Job. Job now. Rigg making the run down the right. Job to Rigg. Rigg's cross looking for Isidore. It's come off for defender as he tried to turn it in for a corner.
Take your time and put a quality ball in. A set piece.
As Roberts is going to take it.
Make sure you miss the first man.
From the right, driven in onto Potts' head and back into the back of the penalty area. Mepham was looking for it, but Preston get it all the way up to the halfway line to Rees. He's held off O'Nien, Job, and plays it back to Ledson. He's had a good game, hasn't he, Rees?
Tell you, he's all up play.
Norwich 2, Sheffield Wednesday 3. Here on the left is Keane. Will Keane lays it off to Magoma, back to Potts. Potts closed down by Roberts, plays it back to Andrew Hughes, just inside the Sunderland half. Whiteman through to Potts, back to Hughes, down the line again, looking for Will Keane, and Will Keane just lost it. And Hume strokes it on to Job in the middle, across here now to Sirkin. Sirkin wide on the left, in front of Paul Heckingbottom, inside to Job. Job forced back by Whiteman to play it to O'Nien, and O'Nien to Mepham. In the 78th minute, Preston leading 1-0. We're live on BBC Radio Newcastle. O'Nien on to Dan Neil. Neil, edge of the centre circle. Reese is just in front of him.
Got no
Slips
movement.
it to O'Nien.
No movement.
O'Nien into the middle to Job. Job to Rigg at the front of the centre circle. Wide to Hume. Hume puts a cross into the penalty area. Gibson deals with it. Out to Potts. Whiteman, Keane, Potts.
Oh, easy.
And wide to Megoma on the left-hand side. Back again to Hughes. Up towards Will Keane. Mepham heads it away. Straight to Job on the right of midfield in the Preston half. And now to Roberts. Roberts running at Hughes. Hughes blocks it. Comes away with the ball. Slips it up to Will Keane. Will Keane back to Whiteman. Out to Megoma and on down that left-hand side to Hughes. Back to Megoma. And then to Reese, who tried to backheel it inside, but it ran into the path of Mepham coming back to intercept.
You need a little bit more movement from the likes of Wilson Isidore. You know, he struggled to get into the game, hasn't he?
Yeah, I still think Miendo looked the brighter of the two, but there you go. Cardiff have gone a goal behind to Luton at home. It's Cardiff 1, Luton 2.
You need movement.
Neil passing it up to Isidore, edge of the area, behind him. It's laid off by Rigg to Sirkin, to Mundle down the left of the penalty area. Trying to get round Porteous. He does into the penalty box, rolls it across the 6-yard line, but it's turned away by Brad Potts. Out to Will Keane. One back by Rigg. Rigg to Hume, who lifts another good ball into the penalty area. Mundle heads it back out to Sirkin down this left-hand side. Sirkin crosses, looking for O'Nien, but his header is cleared. Comes out to the edge of the area again, and Rigg finds Hume. Hume lifts it back in the box, looking for Isidore. He's thinking he's pushed. He's on the floor appealing while play goes on. Preston get the ball clear again. It's won by Dan Neil. The referees ignored any protests. They've got a player down, and he says it's a head injury to Porteous, and so he stops the play. Liam Lindsay's going to come on for Preston. Middlesbrough 2, Queen's Park Rangers 1. Crowd not happy with the referee. And Porteous, I think it was, is up on his feet. And now Kessler Hayden's gone down again. Dennis Sirkin looks over him, has a word. The referee has the ball. He's walking back towards the touchline. And Dennis Sirkin having a word with Lewis Smith now. Porteous has had to go off. And Kessler Hayden's on his knees in front of the referee here now. And the referee's watching as Mepham helps Kessler Hayden up and tries to take him off the pitch. But Kessler Hayden goes back down again. He's held back up, pulled back up by Mepham and pushed to the side of the pitch. And he tries to come back on. And there's a bit of pushing and shoving going on around the assistants. Brad Potts is trying to usher Mepham away. And a clutch of players comes down to the touchline. It's going to be a double switch here. Frockyard's going to come on as well as Lindsay. Kessler Hayden's down with Luke O'Nien on his shoulder on the touchline beside the assistant referee. Paul Heckingbottom's called Hughes across to him, I think. The referee has walked off back down the touchline, and Kessler Hayden's coming off for Frockyard. And there will be another change because Lindsay's waiting to come on as well. So Frockyard comes on.
Don't tell me to keep the referee's telling Mundle to play it back to the keeper.
Well, Mekoma's coming off as well. Now Potts has gone down. And Sirkin goes to try and pull him up. The physio starts pushing Sirkin away. And it's getting very toxic in the stadium. Childish, isn't it, from Preston?
Yeah, it's ridiculous what they're doing.
But the referee's letting them do it. Potts sitting down a yard on the pitch, right in front of the Sunderland technical area. He's now lying back, and the physio is turning around, having a word with his bench. Job has leant over Brad Potts. The referee's leant over Brad Potts. He's been helped to his feet, and the referee clutching the ball as Potts is led off to the touchline in between Stuart McCall and Paul Heckingbottom. It'll be a drop ball to Wilson Isidore. We're in the 83rd, now the 84th minute of the game. Sunderland 0, Preston North End 1.
You don't give him the ball back.
So the referee is going to be a drop ball to Dennis Sirkin now. Dan Neal's come across, had a word with the assistant referee. They're going to make another change, I think, Preston. I think Potts is going to come off. Referee's still waiting.
Referee, you've got to get on with the game, man.
Sunderland are getting very, very frustrated by this because Preston are now taking their time over the substitution. Mepham's come up for a word with the referee. And now Job has come in as well. Job, he's got to be careful here if he says something out of turn. Potts is coming off, and Patrick Bauer is coming on. It's been a long time out through injury with Patrick Bauer, but he now returns, the German. He's only had one League Cup appearance. That was back in September. So Patrick Bauer comes on now, and Preston have played all their substitutes. They must have played the concussion card because that's 4 different substitutions made when they're only allowed 3. So what's now happening?
I don't think the referee knows what he's doing, does he?
I'm not sure. I'm a bit...
He's counting all the players.
He's counting the players. I think they've made one substitution too many here.
Yeah.
They have made 4 separate substitutions in the second half.
You can't do it.
They can't. Not one of them was I don't think one was a concussion injury. Magoma's still on the pitch. Look, Magoma, who was substituted, is now going off on the far side. But I still think there's a case here. One of those substitutions must have been a concussion. Porteous is waiting to come back on, and he was the head injury. Magoma's now gone off on the far side. And the referee's thrown the ball down to Dennis Sirkin, and we're underway again. We're in the 86th minute, but this is going to go on for another 6-7 minutes. Porteous has wanted to come back on. Preston are leading 1-0, and they hook the ball out of their penalty area. Hughes straight up to Mepham, and now Hume back to Mepham to Roberts. Roberts swings the ball into the penalty area. O'Nien's up there. Comes out to Mundle, and Mundle with his right foot trying to curl one. Oh! Romain Mundle!
What a goal that is!
Curls a wonderful equaliser into the top right corner in the 86th minute.
What a goal!
Lovely, lovely touch from Romain Mundle. Sailed into the top corner from the left-hand side outside the penalty area. And we're all square at the Stadium of Light. And there'll be plenty of time to go on and try and win this as Mundle whips the crowd up.
Tell you what, excellent goal.
Wonderful finish. Just outside the penalty, on the corner of the penalty area. On his right foot, top right corner. It's all to play for now. You know, in the end, you could argue Preston hung hoist by their own petard. All that mucking about and time wasting, all it's done is wound Sunderland up. It's 1-1 here at the Stadium of Light. We're in the 87th minute, but there'll be a lot of time added on after all the shenanigans. And now is a free kick for Sunderland. And they quickly get the ball in play again. Out to the left-hand side, Sirkin to Mundle. He's fouled by Porteous. Ball played back to Luke O'Nien. We're in the 88th minute. Sunderland 1, Preston North End 1. The attendance today, 37,771. I'm not quite sure there were that many in the stadium tonight, judging by the empty seats. Job trying to get it onto Isidore, looking for Job again, but Gibson gets the ball clear. Hume tried to win it, and then a scything tackle in the middle by Sirkin. Gets the ball out on the right to Patrick Roberts, through to Hume. Hume now to Rigg on the right of the penalty area. Rigg crosses. Job!
Oh, he's going to
goes
score!
the other way, goes well out, wide for a corner off the defender. And the Mundle ran back with the ball and gave it to the goalkeeper, but the referee's pointed across to the corner. A sixth Sunderland corner, taken short to Roberts from Mundle. Roberts on the left-hand side of the penalty area to Mundle. Mundle taps it now to Mepham, back to Mundle. Mundle, he's going to try it again. No, he's got a defender in front of him. O'Nien's going to try one, and that is wide of the angle. 89th minute. How much time will Lewis Smith add on?
He's got to add on at least 6 minutes.
Judging by the calamity earlier on, he'll probably add on a minute. Freddie Woodman has the ball.
He's got booked. It's been booked.
It's been booked for time wasting. 1-1 as we go into the last minute of the game. Sunderland sensing they can win this. The crowd suddenly energised by that Romain Mundle equaliser and the time wasting by Preston North End. The ball's headed back to Anthony Patterson. He's bowled it out down this left-hand side to Dennis Sirkin. Sirkin, Procchiar in front of him, gets it onto Mundle. Mundle slips, Procchiar puts it out. A throw in front of Paul Heckingbottom on the left for Sunderland. Dennis Sirkin will take this. 9 minutes we're going to get added on. 9 minutes, I understand, are going to be added on at the end of the game. So we are about to go into added time and expect it to be considerable. Expect it to be 9 minutes. As the ball with Rigg out to the left-hand side. Now Mundle trying to take this on into the penalty area to Job. Job on the left of the penalty area. Defender in front of him, plays it back to Mundle at the edge of the area. He crosses looking for Hume. Hume couldn't quite bring it down with his right foot. 9 minutes to show.
Don't foul.
For a free kick to Preston North End. So 9 minutes is the added time we're into now. Freddie Woodman will have this free kick, and everybody heads back up over to the left-hand side around the halfway line. Woodman with the kick drives this up deep into the Sunderland half, down the left wing and out. It's a throw to Sunderland. Hume, to Dan Neal. Tried to find Mundle, but straight to Porteous. Back to the goalkeeper. Closed down by Mundle and Isidore. Woodman puts the ball down the right. Sirkin heads it out. Throw to Preston. And Sunderland have got plenty of time. Still 8 minutes, just under, left of time being added on at the end of the game. Back it goes to to Lindsay. Lindsay plays it across on the left wing. It's headed on, but falls to the feet of Hume. Hume to Rigg. Rigg now inside the Preston half, trying to come into the middle. Job pointing, but it's come square to Sirkin, and now down the left to Mundle, and Mundle is pushed by Porteous. Thought he was fouled. The referee's having none of it, and the ball comes back over to Luke O'Nien in the Sunderland half, who heads it away from Emil Rees, back to Anthony Patterson. Out to Mepham. Mepham wide on the right to Roberts, just on halfway here. He lifts it up over the top, looking for the run of Job, headed away by Lindsay. Out to Gibson, hooked on up towards the halfway line, and it's dropped then over on that far side to be played back into Dan Neal. Neal back to Luke O'Nien, on to Job in the centre circle. To his left is Sirkin. Sirkin now trying to find the gap for Mundle to run on behind Porteous, but Porteous gets the ball back to Woodman. We played 2 minutes just over at the minimum 9. It's Neil, nods it down to Job, and now to Sirkin. Sirkin trying to get away from Frockyar, plays it to Job. He gets an advantage from the referee. Job away down this left-hand side. Job back into Dan Neil in the middle, just in front of the centre circle. Over to Trey Hume. Hume to Roberts on the touchline. He's going to come past Hughes at the corner of the penalty area. Cuts across the back of the area, left foot, low ball. It wasn't spelled by the keeper. O'Nien was waiting for the follow-up.
It just
Woodman
never got enough power.
Grabs it.
He couldn't get enough power on it.
No. Coventry have been beaten 2-0 by Derby. I don't know what sort of mood Coventry will be in then at the weekend for the visit of Sunderland. We played 3 minutes at the minimum 9. The substitute Bauer plays the ball up to an offside Reese or Keane, and it's tapped by O'Nien to Sirkin. 1-1 at the Stadium of Light. That's now out wide on the right to Roberts again. So now on halfway, played across to Dennis Sirkin. Sirkin to Mundle. Mundle taking on Porteous. That looked like he fouled him. He's got an advantage, Mundle. Then Frockyard tried to take him out, but the referee still let play go on. And it's put by Lindsay up onto the head of O'Nien. O'Nien down to Mepham. Mepham on the left side of the centre circle. Into the Preston half. Still going, Chris Mepham. Mepham goes round one challenge, but runs into Bauer, who looked at the referee as though he knew he'd committed a foul, but the play is allowed to go on. Mundle's shot crashes off the German. Sirkin puts the ball back into the penalty area. It's headed out by Hughes, only as far as Hume. Hume puts the ball back in off the defender. It's a corner to Sunderland on the right-hand side. 1-1. We're in the 5th minute of the 9 being added on. Roberts has the ball at the corner. Riggs gone across with him, but Riggs jogs his way back here to the corner of the penalty area. And Roberts on that right-hand side. The keeper's trying to make himself big in front of Wilson Isidore. Job is up there.
Come on, Dennis.
And Patrick Roberts now. Both arms briefly raised. Left-footed. Curls this in, and it's going to go out.
Oh.
It's gone right round and out for a goal kick. We played nearly 5 minutes. Now, the referee's had a quick word with Woodman and told him to hurry up and get in the ball. 1-1, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. The keeper is hardly hurrying, places the ball on the left of the 6-yard box. The players are away on that left-hand side again, and the 6th minute now of the 9. And Woodman, with the kick, drives this up again down that left-hand side and onto the head of Hughes, I think, who's forwards. A free kick to Sunderland. Mepham wanted to take it quickly. Will Keane was trying to prevent him. Mepham taps it now to Dan Neil. Neil to O'Nien inside the Sunderland half. Back to Anthony Patterson just outside his penalty area. To Neil and on to Mepham. Mepham bringing this up to the halfway line. Mepham gets inside of Will Keane. Plays it back to Dan Neil. Neil just behind the centre circle. Then to O'Nien. Wide to Mundle. Mundle now on this left wing. Inside the Preston half. Into Sirkin. Mundle's trying to sprint away from Porteous down this left-hand side. Porteous goes down. Mundle tees up Joe. This shot blocked though by Gibson from the 18-yard line. Comes out to Ledson. Ledson's trying to bring this out. Job tackles him and finds Dan Neil, Frockyar, and tackles Frockyar, finds Neil. Neil now to Rigg. Rigg in midfield, trying to cross to Mundle on the left edge of the penalty area. Can't keep it in.
It's got to be a better pass.
Goal kick. In the 7th minute now, the 9 being added on. 2 balls on the pitch, and that was... Porteous knew what he was doing then. He knew that Woodman had a ball on the 6-yard line and kept the ball in that had just gone out. So another goal kick. Nearly 7 minutes of the 9 played. Sunderland 1, Preston North End 1. Mundle equalising in the 86th minute after a lot of time wasting by Preston through various means and methods. As the ball played up onto the head of Mepham, into the centre circle. Porteous heads it on again. Headed away again by Neil. Comes back though through the middle, looking for Reese, who's fouled by O'Nien. Free kick to Preston. a few yards forwards of the centre circle. Preston won't be in any particular hurry to get this taken, but in the 98th minute now, and it's all square, they'll be more than happy with a point. So Isidore stays up with Porteous in the centre circle. Liam Lindsay, I think, Ben Whiteman's going to take the free kick, and Whiteman then chips it up into the penalty area. The ball headed back down for Roberts to hook away, up as far as Gibson.
You got to get out.
Side steps from Rigg. Gibson then leaves it on the right of midfield to the edge of the area for Rees. Rees tries a shot, but an intervention takes it out behind from Rigg for a corner. So it's Preston's second corner of the game.
Good block.
And who's coming down to take it? Is it Ledson who's coming down to take the corner on this right-hand side in the last minute of the 9 being added on? Ledson with this corner
concentration
for Preston North End. Rigg limps back into the 6-yard box. Ledson, there are 4 at the back of the penalty area for Preston looking to break. Ledson puts the ball at the edge of the 6-yard box towards the fast corner to Rees at the 6-yard box. Keane is behind him. Rees down the left-hand side. Roberts trying to stick with him, and he puts the ball out. Or Hume puts the ball out. Not long to go. 10 seconds or so of the 9 minutes. It's a throw. It'll be a long throw for Preston. 8 yards, 10 yards from the corner on the left. In comes the ball. Up goes Job to head the ball out. And there's the final whistle. It finishes 1-1. A lacklustre first half from Sunderland. Much, much better second half. But when they made changes in the second half and brought Rigg and Mundle on, Preston scored. But then they started to try and waste time and basically, through a lot of antics, prevent Sunderland getting any sort of momentum. But Romain Mundle, with a moment of magic, curled a ball in from 19 yards from the left into the top right corner.
Yeah.
And so they've earned a valuable point.
Yeah, Wilson Isidore's gone down the tunnel. You can see him that he's disappointed. I think he'll be disappointed with his all-round play, really, because I think, for me, he struggled to get into the game. You know, he didn't really cause them any problems, did he? You know, he didn't make any runs behind. He didn't really put himself about. And the opportunity which he had, you've got to
well, it should have put Sunderland one up in the first half. He had a header in the 41st minute from 4 yards, which he put wide. The lead was given to Preston in the 66th minute by Emil Rees, who got space around the edge of the area and drove one low into the bottom left-hand corner. Now I'm watching carefully here because Job, it is Job, isn't it, is talking to the referee, and he's still not entirely clear of picking up a yellow card, or he has walked away and is no further. Actually, he's had a word with the referee, I think, about the whole shenanigans that went on at the end of the game. But he's now clear. He's reached the amnesty. He's got through that, and he stays. He lingers, Job, to applaud the Sunderland fans behind the goal at the Roker end as the players milling about, making their way off the pitch. The Preston players still on the pitch, thanking their supporters, the 266 of them, for their support tonight. Disappointing in a sense, a game that Sunderland, I think, will feel they should have won. They've managed to earn a point from it, but it also means that second automatic space is probably slipping away from Sunderland.
Yeah, it's slipping away. And I think that one of the biggest issues, well, not biggest issues, the big question is Mayenda or Wilson Isidore. You know, you look at the game, and like you've mentioned before, Nick, you just thought Mayenda should stayed on the pitch. I think he was the better threat, or is it because he prefers Wilson Isidore than Mayenda? But sometimes it doesn't, you know, again, it wasn't working for Isidore. He was just having one of them days. And he's seen when, obviously, Mayenda went down the tunnel, when he got taken off, he was not happy.
No, I agree with you. I felt Mayenda was the better bet, but he stuck with Isidore. It was Mundell who came up with the goal in the end, but they couldn't find a winner. It's finished here at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 1, Preston North End 1.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Hi, it's Matt here from The Breakfast Show. I thought I'd pop up here to let you know that I am back after a week off. And this morning, I only